Despite being hero and villain, in Matt Reeves' story, Batman and Riddler have more in common than differences. For instance, both Batman and Riddler are orphans. Both characters are antisocial and reclusive. Both have a peculiar knack for solving puzzles. Both keep a journal of their activities, map out their ideas on hardwood floors, weaponize their shadows, stalk their prey, burst through skylights, and finally, both characters use fear and violence to accomplish their goals. But why so similar? These parallels aren't a coincidence, so what purpose do they serve in Matt Reeves' telling of The Dark Knight? To answer this, let's deep dive into the identities and motives behind these two characters. First, we have Riddler, also known as Edward Nashton, an accountant who works for a company called KTMJ. Through his job, Edward discovers a group of politicians swindling money from a project known as the Renewal Fund. Part of this money was supposed to help fund the underprivileged orphanage in which Edward grew up, and without this much-needed funding, Edward recalls the hellhole that was running rampant with rats and where babies died each year from the cold. Enraged by the corruption, he creates an alter ego known as Riddler, who uses, you guessed it, riddles, to torture his victims before brutally murdering them. Then you have Bruce Wayne. In an attempt to avenge the death of his parents, Bruce creates a bat-like persona with the intent of striking fear in the heart of Gotham's criminals and lowering the city's crime rate. In this story, we get a younger and angrier Bruce Wayne who doesn't identify as Batman, but rather as Vengeance. The symbolism behind this name and everything it represents is the idea of using violence and punishment as a way to restore justice and order in the city. The problem is that it works against Bruce's goal, which is to prevent crime, not inspire it. And herein lies the point of it all. The purpose of the similarities between these characters is to build Bruce's arc from Vengeance to Batman. When Vengeance finally captures the Riddler, or rather Riddler allows himself to be captured, he explains how Vengeance was the source of his inspiration.
You showed me what was possible.
You showed me all it takes is fear and a little focused violence. You inspired me. You're out of your goddamn mind.
Vengeance dismisses Riddler as a madman, but later, when he's battling Riddler's henchmen, one of the thugs refers to himself as Vengeance. This shocks Bruce to his core, as he now realizes that Riddler and the criminals of Gotham see him as one of them. With this key piece of information, it's easy to see why Vengeance and Riddler are so similar to one another, and why their tactics and methods are so alike. Everything about Vengeance resonates with the criminals. The reclusiveness from society, working outside the law, using fear and violence as a means of achieving a goal. All of these tactics are inspiring the criminals instead of deterring them. In a way, Vengeance and Riddler are two sides of the same coin, or in this case, two sides of the same vengeance. Meaning, despite their intentions, both characters are ultimately seeking vengeance on the people responsible for their pain, and thus perpetuating the idea that violence is a justified means to an end. This leads Bruce to the ultimate revelation, that to create the impact he intends, which is to lower the crime rate in Gotham, he must destroy his identity in favor of a worthier cause, one that represents the interest of the people he wants to protect. And that is a symbol of hope rather than a symbol of fear. Bruce's alter ego can no longer serve as a source of inspiration for Riddler and his henchmen. And thus, we have the death of Vengeance and the birth of the Batman.